Hi, my name is Eddie, and I want to talk about Gregory Crewdson and his significance or his contribution to the history of photography, and I also want to talk about his style of photography. And before I start off with the presentation about his photographs and his career, I would like to start off with a quote. It states, "I feel very strongly that every artist has one central story to tell. The struggle is to tell and retell that story over and over again in visual form, and to try to challenge that story. But at the core, that story remains the same. It's like the defining story of who you are." I pulled that quote from the documentary Brief Encounters. Pretty much explains how he is as a photographer and how his workflow is in capturing the subject in his specific form. So, a little bit about the author. Gregory Crewdson is an American author, or photographer, sorry, who was born in 1962 in Brooklyn, New York. Funny enough is when he was a child, he would listen to his father, who was a Freudian psychoanalyst, consult with his patients. So he would actually use the things that he's listened to and what he's learned and applied them to his photographs. So when you focus into the subjects of each person, you can see that distraught, anxious, depressed, sad emotion. And around 1983 to 1991, Crewdson studied at State University of New York, or SUNY, and gained a master's in fine art and photography from Yale University of Art, who in 1993 was actually appointed as a part of the Yale faculty as the director of graduate studies in photography. A little bit about his career. His work was exhibited widely in United States and Europe, and is being represented in the Gagosian Gallery in New York and White Cube, London. His photographs are depicted as dramatic and cinematic for its large production value and lighting. According to our textbook, Crewdson would assume the role of director and work with casting directors, actors, location managers, even camera operators to actually create his work. In these two series, Twilight and Beneath the Roses, he introduced color and enlarged the scale to a surreal formula of his cinematic style. He actually used this, and it was very similar to the films of Steven Spielberg. And he actually based a few of his works, was inspired particularly by Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and one film by Psycho, which will be coming up soon. So, as you can see, these are some collections of his works. This is actually one of his most recent ones, Woman at the Window, where you can see the woman right here at the window, looking at the cool outside air while she's in a very nice toasty cabin. So here's another one of his photographs that he uses. It shows a lot of trauma and sadness. And if you pay very close attention to these facial expressions, you can see that turmoil that they're going through. And you can see how he used that dramatic angle, those light sources. It really captured that cinema feel. As the times go on, you can see that style progress. So here's another one from the 1999. You can see very, very warm, cool, and just that dramatic emotion from him and the lights, even the angle that it's at. You can see right here different light sources being used from the sun rays or possibly a spotlight, indoor lights, and then you can see this little dude right here, just sad. Yeah. This one's a little bit more of a pastel, again one of his recent works, but still shows that distraught sadness. This one was actually the one I talked about earlier that was inspired by Psycho. Originally, according to the documentary, he wanted to make a focus on the bathroom scene of Psycho, where she's taking a shower and Norman nearly stabs her. But as the times progressed, you can see that the bathroom went from here, he said he wanted it to be on the left side of the film, to on the right side, and you can see that not a lot of the bathroom is shown, but you can see where it's still one of the focal points. And you can see right here, the little baby, the mother, all together. What I found really interesting about this particular photograph is how much effort it took to get this photograph. It actually, if I remember correctly in the documentary, it was 20 exposures that were actually overlaid. Originally there was a light over here. The screen was a lot dirtier just to get this light showing. So a lot of post-production was made after photographing this. The baby wouldn't stop crying for 36 hours, and at one point they just put a warm blanket underneath him to kind of soothe him and make him very sleepy and cozy. And they took advantage of that 1 second and made that exposure just to freeze frame all this and capture that turmoil, that sadness. And even using the different light sources from here, here, and here. Another photograph from the documentary was this one, entitled Brief Encounter, also untitled. This one was another funny story to tell because he shut down this entire road, but as they were trying to clear the road, trucks were driving through and kept leaving trail marks. So because they wanted to take advantage of the outdoor twilight time, they had to have everyone carefully walk around and dump snow to actually cover up those tracks. A little bit see them right here and there, but he wanted this to be the main focus, so all those lines converge down to this spot right here. This is actually from the series Beneath the Roses, where it's titled The Father. And as you can see, here's the, I'm assuming the father figure, and you can see the wife or daughter. Very hard to tell, especially since she has her back towards you. It makes you add to that mystery. He's just very known for that cinematic quality. Like he mixes temperatures, like cooler tones here, warmer tones there. Takes advantage of mixed lighting just to create drama, create that cinematic look. So you can see here he frames the subjects within the frame itself. So it kind of mirrors here. So from here you can see that it frames not only the room but the two subjects. But when you look over here, it frames specifically the mother, and right here it frames the outside, as if it's creating a tunnel, a frame within a frame. This one was another interesting photograph from the documentary, and it's also from the series Beneath the Roses. This man right here would always greet him every time Gregory Crewdson would actually visit this town to find spots to photograph. So he wanted to use him as the primary subject and wanted to take a photo of this street. And what's funny about this is, in a span of 2 days, this street was already under construction. Prior to all this, it was pretty clean, it was lively, and in a span of 2 days, it was under not only construction, but people were being evicted. So they wanted to try to get everything done as quick as possible. That's why, if you can look right over here, you can see that there was actually a hole in the building. Before that, he did not know that that was going to happen, so it kind of added more to the photograph, and he took advantage of what was in front of him. But now, one of his most recognizable and his most famous works, Ophelia, from the Twilight series. He actually wanted to recreate this by Shakespeare's Hamlet. And according to our textbook, the photograph alludes to the tragic fate of the character Ophelia from William Shakespeare's Hamlet, in which, after being spurned by her loved prince and grieving for her father, Ophelia was found drowned. So this is supposed to be Ophelia inside her home, drowning. And you can see again with the mixed lighting, this is probably not the best image, but it's the best one I could find. But you can see that there was a light source here from the outside, and then one from the inside, and also from right here, giving it this like cool and warm mixed tones to tell you that it was around twilight time. Here's another one that he took pretty recently, and it was in the outdoors. It's entitled The Haircut, and you can see two subjects right over here inside a forest with a lot of different dynamic angles, cooler tones. So, and here's another one from from 2009 titled 21, where it's very different from what he usually does with his color. He went to the black and white realm and used pigment inkjet print as his material. Here's another one from 2006, very similar to this photograph. You can see that blue matches. You can see that even this house right here, that's very hidden away, still shows some light to just, it keeps the frame very busy. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. You can see the subject right here. Like, he very much mixes his cooler and warmer tones. And the last photo is of 2004, Harry's supermarket, where you can see 1, 2, and 3 people, maybe 5 of these 2 guys. I'm partially blind. But you can see it's just the subject, even taking advantage of that twilight time, the blues of the sky mixed with the blue of the sidewalk, street, and even the supermarket. But that pink matches this sidewalk right here, the car, and even the title of Harry's supermarket sign. And even the yellows from all the light bulbs used, you can see that it's very coherent. It's a lot of unity in color. So, going into his significance of the photography realm, according to the textbook, stage photography has been used by many photographers to create a photographic image that challenges the notion of photography as an artistic material that captures the truth. Gregory Crewdson was one of the photographers that was known for his cinematic style by using elaborate stage photographs ranging from a soundstage to the shutdown of an entire street. The text goes on by saying how postmodernism brought photography to the forefront of contemporary art practices. Crewdson, as well as Gursky, Jeff Wall, made the monumental color print the dominant format for serious contemporary photography. And I wanted to end this presentation by showing you one of his most powerful quotes. In all my pictures, what I am ultimately interested in is that moment of transcendence or transportation where one is transported into another place, into a perfect still world. Despite my compulsion to create this still world, it always meets up against the impossibility of doing so. So I like the collision between this need for order and perfection and how it collides with a sense of the impossible. I like where possibility and impossibility meet. Gregory Crewdson. Thank you so much for listening and watching this video. Hope you learned something and have a wonderful, wonderful day.